If I asked you to name an anthropomorphic video game protagonist, I have a feeling you'd say Sonic the Hedgehog.
Maybe you'd name the iconic bear and bird duo Banjo-Kazooie. What about Jazz Jackrabbit? Bubsy?
My answer would be the charismatic, Robin Hood-esque thieving raccoon, Sly Cooper.
First introduced to the world in 2002's Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, or simply Sly Raccoon to the Europeans of the world, Sly Cooper is, according to Wikipedia,
an anti-heroic young adult gentleman thief raccoon who is a part of a long line of master thieves who specialize in robbing other criminals rather than innocent people, making them vigilantes. Duh.
I really like the Sly Cooper series of video games, which include the aforementioned Sly 1, 2004's Sly 2 Band of Thieves, 05's Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves, and 2013's Sly Cooper Thieves in Time.
These games are some of my earliest gaming memories, and they're held very near and dear to my heart.
Truthfully, I've never really liked Sly 1 though. The gameplay style of the first installment was far different than that of the subsequent 3, and that didn't sit right with me. I'm happy the game was created, as it spawned an amazing franchise, but I can't say I like Sly 1.
Until today. As a full-grown adult with decades of gaming experience under his belt, I've decided to take a second look at Sly 1 to see if the game is better than I originally thought.
Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus starts off with a brief introduction to our tech man Bentley and our muscle/driver Murray. These two have been friends with Sly since he was first orphaned, and they've grown very close to one another. As we learn after stealing a case file from Inspector Carmelita Fox's Paris base of operations, Sly's parents were murdered in cold blood by a criminal group called the Fiendish Five, who broke into the Cooper home to steal the Thievius Raccoonus, the book used by the entire Cooper lineage to document how to be a master thief. Believing this book could help them rise to power, the Fiendish Five took any means necessary to get their hands on it.
After the heist, the group split the book up and spread out to the corners of the globe.
Motivated by revenge and a desire to get his family's heirloom in one piece again, Sly and the gang set out to defeat the Fiendish Five one by one and recover the pages of the book. Attempting to halt this journey is the aforementioned Interpol Inspector Carmelita Fox, who hunts Sly and his friends down across the world to bring him to justice. She never quite catches him, but she always arrives in time to arrest the criminals Sly brings the pain down on.
They're actually a really good team, but Carmelita is too focused on Sly's status as a thief to realize that he rarely steals for his own gain.
During the Paris heist, we learn the basic controls and actions we'll be using across the entire game.
Sly's also kind of a jerk to his friends, which continues, at least for Bentley, for the whole game, and I don't like that.
He's a lot more respectful in the sequels, which better fits the relationship that Sly, Murray, and Bentley are supposed to have.
After a decade's worth of bonding time and enough trust having been established to literally do crime together, you think Sly would treat Bentley better.
He's usually kind to Murray, but I get the feeling that's only the case because he's kind of a dope.
Again, in future games, the members of the Cooper gang are expanded upon, and I think that's really where they start to shine.
Bentley, through the Binocucom gadget, tells you how to control Sly throughout the game. Most of your platforming actions are done through the iconic input combo of jumping and pressing the circle button.
You'll hear the phrase jump and press the circle button many times throughout the entire Sly series. The games themselves even joke about how often you'll be pressing circle whilst in the air.
To landeth safely upon diminutive points, leapeth lively and presseth the triggering device with the round geometrical object emblazoned upon it.
So jump and hit the circle button to land on narrow spots.
That's a rough translation.
The rest of the first heist wraps up fairly quickly, with Sly stealing the case file and Carmelita trying to put an end to his thieving ways. A cutscene takes over explaining Sly and his family's history, before it's off to track down the first member of the Fiendish Five, Raleigh. A rich frog turned pirate, Raleigh works as the machinist for the Fiendish Five. Tide of Terror is the name of our first mission, and it features Sly trying to find a way onto Raleigh's Storm Machine base. There really isn't a lot of variety across most of the missions, besides the locations being different, so I won't be discussing every level. By that, I mean besides platforming, a bit of combat, and jumping while pressing the circle button, there's not too much gameplay variety.
Honestly, I prefer it that way, since the levels that freestyle a bit aren't very fun.
Treasure in the Depths is episode 1's freestyle mission, and it sucks. Instead of roaming and platforming around a linear area, you're tasked with controlling a submarine equipped with a turret, and your objective is to shoot open 40 treasure chests while also stopping the swarm of crabs from stealing the very same chests. If even one chest gets taken, you have to start over.
Historically, this level has always taken me a few tries, but during this playthrough, I did it on my first attempt. One take wonder, baby!
Sly's movement and agility is super fun, and having to put that on pause to learn how to control a submarine really slows down the gameplay to a crawl. I understand the need for variety in order to keep the game fresh, but I don't think this was a good distraction. The other 6 missions in Tide of Terror are all grade A platforming though, so episode 1 stands strong as an excellent foray into the world of Sly Coopering. The episode boss fight against Raleigh is pretty fun too. You wait out his jumping attacks until he deflates, and then you hit him. Repeat this 4 times, with the evasion getting more and more tricky, and you win! Raleigh conveniently shares that the next member of the Fiendish Five, Mugshot, is in Utah, and the Cooper gang is off. The gameplay style itself remains fairly constant, and I appreciate that. Getting new environments with very small changes in gameplay keeps things simple and lets the gameplay speak for itself. After each boss fight, you'll learn a new Cooper clan parkour technique which will be implemented in future episodes. Raleigh's pages of Thievius Raccoonus teach Sly how to do the ninja spire jump, so going forward, we can land on the tips of points by,
you guessed it,
jumping and pressing the circle button. Mesa City in Utah is controlled by Mugshot, a previously scrawny bulldog turned meathead after watching mafia movies. I reckon he's never heard of Leg Day, and my evidence is that his arms are like 80% of his body weight. Sunset Snake Eyes is the name of episode 2, and it's just as enjoyable as episode 1 was. Except for at the dog track.
Speaking of dogs, there's some weird Disney Goofy Pluto stuff going on here.
Mugshot's a dog, and so are many of his guards. Some of his lackeys are actual dogs though, like on 4 legs tied to a pole dogs.
So I guess Mugshot the dog and his dog friends own pet dogs? What's the logic here?
There are 2 freestyle missions in Mesa City, at the dog track and Murray's Big Gamble, as well as a new recurring mission style introduced in 2 to Tango. At the dog track features a racing minigame where Murray is suckered into participating in a race around a track, with the prize being a treasure key. Why Mugshot's own goons are competing for a key to their boss's lair makes 0 sense, but even ignoring that, this race is just plain dumb.
Sly is not a racing game, nor should it feature racing gameplay.
It's hard to explain, but the physics feel so off when driving the van. I swear with enough nitrous cans, I could probably flip the vehicle over.
Without the heavy feel of the van, it's really difficult to get into the race.
I found the best strategy is to hoard canisters and play bumper cars to bully your way to first place. Murray's Big Gamble is another turret mission, except Sly is stationary and Murray is running through the course. As he progresses toward the key, enemies will pop out and Sly is tasked with shooting them.
This style of gameplay is super quick and really fun, so I consider it a welcomed break.
It's not like the submarine from episode 1, because you won't get stuck on this mission for very long, even if the concept is hard for you to grasp. So it truly is a quick dose of variety gameplay. Lastly, in 2 to Tango, Carmelita Fox chases Sly throughout the level while taking pot shots at him with her shock pistol. In many ways, this level plays out like any other platformer, with just an extra sprinkling of police chase spice.
I wonder if the news helicopter will get up in time so all the Twitch streamers can live react to it.
Mugshot's boss fight is easier than Raleigh's, I'd say, but tons of fun. Instead of dealing damage directly to Mugshot, Sly flips over a series of mirrors that direct light into a central crystal that burns Mugshot. Repeat this process 3 times, with the difficulty changing as Sly and Mugshot climb higher and higher up in the penthouse, and more pages of the Thievius Raccoonus are returned to their rightful owner. Continuing the trend after we beat Raleigh, Mugshot also gives some very convenient directions on where to head next. In this case, he warns us to avoid Ms. Ruby's voodoo magic. Misunderstood as a child, Ms. Ruby learned voodoo magic to conjure up undead friends when the living shunned her. Vicious Voodoo is a really fun episode, making use of Sly's new rail walk ability that lets you, and I quote,
grind pipe like a skater. Welcome to the early 2000s, people.
Piranha Lake, A Ghastly Voyage, and Down Home Cooking are the freestyle missions in Haiti, and they're very much so a mixed bag.
I got down to 1 life during Miss Ruby's stage, and I think it says a lot about the design philosophy of the game when I tell you that I lost a majority of these lives on not platforming levels.
Piranha Lake is a 2-minute sprint to run over fish in your turret, which enables you to light a series of 25 torches across the level. I think if you were young, this one might give you some trouble, but I got through it in a single attempt.
That doesn't mean it should be in the game though.
A Ghastly Voyage makes use of the same vehicle, except you're running through a linear shoot-'em-up style level instead of doing a contained challenge. This was a level that dragged my life counter from 9 down to 1.
To state the obvious once again, Sly Cooper is a platforming game, and it's excellent at that.
I cannot describe to you how wonderful the movement feels from level 1 through the final stage.
Sly Cooper is an awful on-rails shooter.
It's not meant to be one, I don't think, but for some reason, they tried to mix that kind of gameplay in. I feel the same way about the racing levels and most other non-platforming levels. Imagine playing Pokemon, and right before you can battle a gym leader, you have to score an A rank in a game of Osu, or clear 15 lines off a Tetris board.
That's not the gameplay you signed up for, and even though it might be fun if you're into that sort of thing, it doesn't really belong.
Maybe as a side quest or an optional minigame, but not as a required level.
Having said all that, the rhythm game boss fight against Ms. Ruby is really freaking fun.
I suck at rhythm games, but gosh do I love the Ms. Ruby fight.
I know that goes against everything I just said, so feel free to put it in the fun if you're into that sort of thing, but doesn't really belong category.
Ms. Ruby will launch voodoo symbols that coincidentally look like the PlayStation buttons at Sly, and by pressing them in time, you can dodge them. Do this for a few cycles of increasing tempo, and Sly can score a hit against Ms. Ruby.
The best part is that this fight features Chumlee! No, not Chumlee. I think that guy's in jail now. I mean Chumlee! Yay, Chumlee!
Ms. Ruby uses her final words as a free alligator to inform Sly that the Panda King, whose fortress is in China, is far stronger and tougher than anyone we've faced before. She definitely forgot to add more fun to that list, because Panda King's episode is probably the best in the entire game. Born a poor farmer, Panda King worked hard to learn the art of the firework, but his outward appearance and class status caused him to be mocked by those he tried to market his product to. In an act of revenge, Panda King altered course and began offering his fireworks to the rich in a different way. This endeavor was so successful that he got recruited to join the Fiendish Five as the demolitions expert.
He's dang good at his job, because this episode is a blast.
Fire in the Sky is probably my favorite episode in the entire game. It's got great aesthetics, the platforming feels at its best here, and the Panda King boss fight is really fun.
It's simple, but it's fun.
As for the non-platforming levels, we have the King of the Hill Murray turret mission, which isn't too bad, Rapid Fire Assault, which is another on-rails shooter segment that I don't hate, and A Desperate Race clocks in as the worst mission, being another van race.
I've already talked about my gripes with these levels, so I'll move on.
Instead, let's talk about what makes Panda King's missions so good. I haven't timed the missions myself, but the scale and length of the levels set in China feel longer, which adds to the grandiose feel. Combining ninja spire jumps, hook swings, rail grinds, and standard platforming makes these challenges stand out as true tests of Sly's acrobatics. If there was one set of stages to show off how fast and fun the movement is in this game, it would be these ones.
We can worry about what that says about the last episode all day, but we'll get there in due time.
For now, take solace knowing you've mastered the game's mechanics if you can move efficiently through Panda King's lair.
The gameplay is buttery smooth, just how we like it.
Panda King as a boss fight is easy as pie, but it's also incredibly entertaining.
Where we've previously defeated bosses by executing precise dodges, platforming maneuvers, or rhythm gaming challenges, you win against the Panda King just by smacking him. You just smack him.
Yes, you have to dodge his extremely telegraphed flame fu attacks, but that's not difficult at all. Due to a short attack range, a simple jump back will allow Sly to evade the occasional karate chop. Anytime you're not dodging, you're smacking the Panda King, and it is really goofy.
Seriously, this boss fight is awesome.
Beating Panda King is definitely the high point of the game to me.
That means it's all downhill from here.
The final member of the Fiendish Five is Clockwork, and he resides in a volcano in Russia. Clockwork's story is that he is the immortal bird in charge of the Fiendish Five who has stalked the entire Cooper lineage. Trading in his biological parts for a metal body fueled by hate, Clockwork exists solely to terminate the Cooper name.
This is some intense setup for the final episode, so you head into Russia fired up to take down the metal bird.
Instead of the last episode being comprised of a small hub world and 7 or so levels, the game takes an alternate approach where every level is chained back to back into one long campaign. This ends up being a detriment to the game, as the last stretch of gameplay is made up mostly of non-platforming levels. I hope you've enjoyed Sly 1 the platformer, because you'll be ending with Sly 1 the on-rails shooter. There's some platforming mixed in, but by volume, you're heading into something that looks vastly different from the rest of the game.
The Cold Heart of Hate has 7 levels. They can be summarized as follows.
Turret section, weird driving thing, short platforming, Bentley hacking minigames, escort turret section, actual platforming, turret section.
This episode sucks.
I have no clue why they went this route for the climax of the game. The volcano is an interesting setting, but it looks like the devs felt like a single continuous assault was the only way to make the area interesting, and platforming over and over again didn't work in their minds.
I agree with the idea of a final gauntlet of missions instead of another small hub world with free play, but it definitely could have been done better.
During the last missions of the game, frustration and confusion shouldn't be anywhere near the forefront of your mind. Having to rock'em sock'em hit some magma cubes from Minecraft so they don't grab randomly falling desktop PCs is bizarre in any game, especially in a game teed up like Sly 1 was.
Going over every bad aspect of the Cold Heart of Hate would take too long, but I do want to highlight what I consider to be the biggest plot hole in the final episode.
Clockwork is a really cool idea for a villain. He's an immortal being that hunts down every member of the Cooper clan across time, and he claims his motivation in doing so is to be the only master thief in the world. Originally, he thought he could achieve this by stealing the Thievius Raccoonus, since that book is how master thieves are made. But Sly corrects him by saying master thieves make the Thievius Raccoonus. As such, Clockwork attempts to defeat Sly, therefore snuffing out the only other master thief in the world. Here's the big glaring issue.
Clockwork is not a master thief. For one, we haven't seen or heard of him stealing anything besides the Thievius Raccoonus throughout the entire game, and two, he's freaking massive!
How could Clockwork sneak into any building in the world besides a football stadium or something? He's way larger than Sly, who's a standard size for the world. Even someone big and bulky like Mugshot could at least fit into a regular building where something could be stolen. Instead of defeating Clockwork in an interesting way, you shoot him using Carmelita's jetpack, then do a final bit of platforming to smack him repeatedly until his health bar hits 0. With those final presses of the square button, Sly has repaired his family's book, gotten the chance to smooch Carmelita, and the Cooper gang lives to steal another day. At the start of my replaythrough of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, I set out to answer the question, is Sly 1 a good game?
The answer to that question is a resounding yes. The game isn't perfect, but it's competent and the good parts are really good.
Sly 1 certainly has bad parts, and they're a little too frequent for the game to be considered top tier, but it is not a bad game. I think Sly 1 is just okay when compared to the other games in the series, and the game definitely wouldn't be made today.
The Sly series as a whole has aged incredibly well, but Sly 1 was left behind.
The game experimented a little too much, and some core elements are extremely outdated. Having a live system, only being able to take one hit before dying, and the regular occurrence of non-platforming levels lead to the game feeling like a relic from days past. Even with all that in mind, Sly 1 is an enjoyable game that began an iconic series of action platformers.
For that, I am endlessly grateful for Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus.
Without slogging through the racing levels, we'd never get to experience Band of Thieves or Honor Among Thieves. Let that be a lesson to you to never give up on your dreams. Even if things start out rocky, maybe with enough love and effort, you can watch your aspiration blossom into a competent platformer series, or whatever it is you're thinking of.
I took the story of Sly Cooper to heart, and I became a thief myself. It was surprisingly easy. About 2 years ago, I decided to stop paying taxes, and it looks like I finally have a reputation similar to that of the Cooper clan. It's okay though, I'm still noble in the eyes of Sly Cooper. After all, I'm only stealing from other thieves.